did Texas get to this point? For more on that, let's bring in someone who knows, the CEO of the Electric Reliability Council of Texas, that's ERCOT, which operates the state's electricity grid, Bill Magness. Good afternoon, Bill. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
So I know you're very busy and you've taken time out of it. We're just looking, it looks like about 3 million Texas homes are without power right now as part of the rolling blackouts to reduce stress on the system. Yeah, how is this happening in the 21st century in America, and when is power going to be fully restored?
Well, we're working 24 hours a day ever since Sunday night to get power restored to Texans. And I think now we recently added more ability to serve Texans. I think the amount of rotating outages right now are half what they were at their peak. But that's not enough, obviously. We've got to keep that moving down as fast as we can, because our only priority right now is getting power to the folks in Texas. As you said, I mean, we, along with anyone else in Texas, grieve the losses, the tragedies that have occurred in these last few days, and it demonstrates the essential nature of power to people's lives. And it's our job to bring that to folks. How did this happen? The nature of electricity is such that you have to keep the supply of electricity and the demand for electricity in balance all the time. If you don't, if they get very far out of balance, you can have catastrophic blackouts that are not like what we're seeing today. These are very big problems in Texas right now, but the catastrophic blackout can't be fixed by a grid operator like ERCOT. Lots of equipment is destroyed. It can last for months and months, and there would be no power in areas like Dallas while that blackout occurred. So in order to prevent those, when ERCOT as grid operator sees the supply of power, that is the generation from whether it's wind power, solar, coal, whatever it is, if that gets enough out of balance with the demand on the system, then we have to take some demand off the system. And sadly, unfortunately, that's what we had to do Sunday. The cause, the storm that came into Texas and you were describing moving through the country, was taking the power system in dangerous directions. The demand for services were higher than they've ever been in Texas by far for a winter. We usually have our highest demands in summer when air conditioners were running, and we were having amount of power usage that was rivaling that as this storm blew through. So that the amount of the demand is going way up, higher than anything we'd seen in the winter season, by far. Then the supply is going down because as that storm blew through, it iced up wind turbines, for example. It caused outages at some of the facilities that make power, so that the ability to provide the supply was compromised by the same storm that was driving up the demand. And so our grid operators here at ERCOT are sort of we're sort of the traffic cops. We don't own generation, we don't own transmission lines, but our job is to prevent those catastrophic blackouts. One of the ways we do that is have rotating outages, or outages that we can control, and so that when the demand and supply get back in balance efficiently, those outages can end. And when we get enough generation back on this system, enough supply to meet this demand, we're going to be in a place where we were last week or the week before with the electric power system, where things work more smoothly. So this really was the historic nature and the extraordinary, extreme nature of this storm that drove both the problems that led us to have so many outages. And unfortunately, they've lasted much longer than anyone would want. And we're working around the clock to get those generating plants, the power plants, to enough of them to get back online from the damages they suffered with the storm, to even out the system and let everyone get their power again.
So, Bill, the storm wasn't unexpected, though. So why did it have such a dramatic impact? And why is Texas faring so much worse than other surrounding states?
Well, the storm was certainly expected. I mean, there were forecasts, it was anticipated. And I think the challenge was the demand was so high and the supply was not able to meet it. And the reason for that was really normally in Texas, I'd say, especially through the hot summers and other seasons, the supply is sufficient to meet the highest demands we've ever seen on the system, even higher than we're seeing now, sometimes in the summer. The problem was the storm was causing a lot of those plants, those power plants that were needed desperately to serve that demand, to trip off, to have mechanical problems or freezing that they couldn't control. So the supply that was anticipated to be there for that really tough time during the storm was not able to operate and is still, getting itself fixed and back on the system so it can serve customers.
And Texas Governor Greg Abbott has put the blame for these outages squarely on you guys. You're on the hot seat right now, obviously. So let's just take a listen for a moment to what he told our affiliate, KTRK, this morning.
So ERCOT stands for Electric Reliability Council of Texas. And they showed that they were not reliable. These are experts. These are engineers in the power industry. These aren't bureaucrats or whatever the case may be. These are specialists. And government has to rely upon these specialists to be able to deliver in these types of situations.
So he went on to call for your resignation, the resignation of ERCOT leaders. I'd like to get your response to that, and also your response to what people are saying, that maybe Texas is too deregulated, that other states operate natural gas and wind in cold weather, and they outfit them by regulation so that they can survive that. First, Abbott. Second, maybe you guys are doing it wrong.
Okay. First, as I was saying, the total focus of our team now, from me to our grid operators to everyone else, is to get the power back on. There's going to be a lot of investigation and analysis of this event, which obviously had huge impacts on Texas. And it needs to be looked at. All of the decisions we made need to be looked at. And I welcome that. And one of the things that, we just have to emphasize right now is, until that power is all back on, we've got to keep our people focused on making that happen so Texans and their households can have the power again. As to there may be decisions about, me or other folks at ERCOT or whatever it is, but we welcome the chance to, be accountable for this. But the one thing I will say is that the grid operators, the folks who are responsible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from keeping these catastrophic major blackouts from happening, saw conditions Sunday night that they really didn't have any other good choice but to have these rotating outages. And now they've lasted a lot longer than rotating outages. But I feel like if we had not taken the actions we did to begin those outages, we could have seen the whole system down, and with no prospect of coming back in the next few days, which is certainly what we're seeing now, because the outages we have in place are more controlled. So let's focus on that, get Texans, get their heat and their light back, and then I certainly think we'll, investigate all the other issues. I guess the second was about deregulation.
It was just the notion that Texas has not required the power system to be sufficiently safe from cold. While other states right around you guys get plenty of cold, and their wind turbines and natural gas facilities are still working just fine.
Well, one issue is that in Texas, the system is designed for heat. In the north, the system is designed for colder peak loads, peak demands on the system. So if we constructed some of our power plants the way that they're constructed, in more northern, colder places, they would have difficulty maintaining their integrity in the summer when there's so much heat being generated in this space. So it is true that there are certain plants that are, built for that environment, just as they're built in the north for environments where you see frequent cold. There's certainly plants that have protections. They know cold weather is going to come, but there is a difference between how, the power system's constructed in warmer and colder places. But that said, ERCOT is sort of the traffic cop managing how power flows on our system. We're not the policymaker, and we're not the regulator. So if there are ideas after we review this event, as everyone does, regulators, industry, ERCOT, everyone else, that there need to be changes in that arena, absolutely. I think that's what policymakers will be in a position to do, and we're happy to help however we can.
And Bill, the governor is also pointing to those frozen wind turbines and solar panels and saying that green energy is responsible for the power failures. What's your take on that?
Certainly the governor's right. There were certainly failures of solar and wind generation facilities. I think, what we saw this week was that the storm was the central cause that drove power out, because we did see outages from other kinds of generation, from coal, from natural gas, as well as the wind and the solar. So, I think what this storm does is expose the vulnerabilities, perhaps, of all different kinds of power making generation on the system. And it's something that obviously the industry will be very interested in looking back at and seeing what do we got to do to, to keep this from happening? Because certainly no one wants the kind of, human struggle that we've had to see over the past few days for our fellow Texans. But no one who's making power or, monitoring, managing the power system has any interest in doing that either. Our job every day is to get people reliable electricity. And events like this, we have to protect from the absolute worst cases. But unfortunately, so people have had to endure these outages that we needed to order much longer than we anticipated. But that said, as I said, at the top, we're moving forward on getting more and more power back online. We continue to work with the folks all across the industry to make sure that they're able to get their power supply back up so we can meet the demand we have and hopefully soon eliminate all of the outages that are in effect.
And Bill, really quick, we're out of time, but I want to get your thoughts on this. One of the big points of focus now is that Texas is on its own power grid. Yesterday, the president called that alarming. Do you think after this, Texas will be integrated into the national grid?
Well, again, we've got to focus on getting this problem solved and getting the power back on. I imagine there will certainly be, investigation of this event to determine what the right approach to going forward is. But today, I'm not really focused on going forward. I'm sure those discussions will come, but right now we got to get the power back on for people.
All right, Bill Magness of ERCOT, we know you're busy. We appreciate your time today. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.